Hey guys, welcome back. Today is one of my favorite activities. It's Andy Warhol pop art printmaking. So we're going to learn how to make a print, which I've showed you before with our styrofoam plate trick, but we're going to do it in the style of Andy Warhol. So basically we need to come up with one topic. It could be a very simple topic. If you can see behind me, there's the banana. Andy Warhol was famous for doing famous people, but also famous for doing a soup can. So basic things around the house. The first thing you see, basically pop art was started by Andy Warhol and his friends, and basically it was popular culture, things that you see a lot around you that are part of today's culture, part of your society, and then they just made them very simplified and bright and pop out at you, which is why it was called pop art, pop culture, pop art. So I want you to come up with what your print is going to be. It can be anything you want. I'm looking around and I think I'm going to do a paint palette, I think. Could be creative. So you're going to need a piece of paper, you're going to need acrylic paint, you're going to need a styrofoam plate for your print and scissors, you're going to need some colored pencils and a mechanical pencil that you can carve your print with. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to paint our backgrounds and let them dry. So we're going to do our print second. So what you're going to do, take your piece of paper and you're going to fold it and make 4 squares. So you're going to fold it 2 times. One like a hot dog, one like a hamburger. So you get 4 even squares. Now, in typical Andy Warhol fashion, every square is going to be a different color, and you're going to pick a color scheme. And your prints and your backgrounds are going to match in your color scheme. So I'm basically going to use the color scheme that's behind me. I'm going to use an orange, I'm going to use a yellow, I'm going to use a blue, and I'm going to use a pink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint these colors. 1 square is going to be each color. And then we need to set that aside to dry. Alright, so Andy Warhol, a lot of this pop art culture. I'm going to start painting my squares while I talk to you about Andy Warhol. Pop art culture basically started in New York City, and there was a lot of things happening in New York at that time. Lots of socialites and people wanting to be seen and heard. And Andy Warhol was one of them. Although he was a very quiet guy, he had a lot to say with his art. So he made films, he did printmaking, he was out all the time to be seen by people, and he himself, the art of Andy Warhol, became pop art, became pop culture. So if you saw Andy Warhol out and about, you knew you were part of the scene and you were part of what was popular during that time. Alright, I have one section done. I'm going to wash really well because I want nice, bright, vibrant colors. I'm going to go on to my next color. I'm going to do it exactly like my color scheme behind me because I'm inspired by it right now. And I might be rethinking what my print is going to be. So as you're painting, think about, it could be something that you love. It could be like pop art about you. It could be something that's popular, like right now, cell phones and technology and face masks. That's what mine's probably going to be, a face mask. Because we'll all have to wear one. It'll be like, wear your mask outside. Stay safe. That's our pop culture right now during COVID times. Okay, got 2 sections done. Gonna go ahead and wash. Go on to my next color. And another thing about that's a little bit different about pop culture is that color theory, color changed a little bit. So you start seeing more bright, vibrant, fluorescent-y not so matching color schemes. Things that were different that made people question became like, oh, are you sure that those colors should go next to each other? Why not? It's art. My last color I'm going to put in, and then I need to let this dry, and then I can start working on my print. So if you did the printmaking activity with me this month, I showed you how to make a stamp with a piece of a plate. Styrofoam plate. I can never remember that word, styrofoam. Styrofoam plate. So we're going to get a styrofoam plate. You're going to cut it out, but you're going to make sure that your cut is the shape of the object that you want to print. So it can't just be a square or rectangle. It has to be in a shape this time. So the last one we did, it was a rectangular shape. So I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to get my plate ready. Now, let's see, what was I going to draw? A face mask. So I'm going to draw a face mask, and then I'm going to cut it out the shape of a face mask. Draw it. You draw whatever you want. And it can be as big as you want, but it does need to be able to fit in one of your squares that you just painted. So don't get too crazy. Okay, mine's going to be a little bit tricky to cut because I have some circles to cut out of my space because I'm making the ear loops of my face mask, and I want to be able to tell that it's a face mask when I print it. Okay, so remember, when you're printmaking, if you want to do any writing, your writing has to be written backwards. So I would encourage you not to do any lettering. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out the shape of my stamp. Remember, you want it to be an actual shape of something, just like the banana shape, so that way it doesn't go into your background color. Whatever you're printing pops out at you. I need to cut. I hope this works. Cut my ear loops. So far, can you tell it's a face mask? It's a little bit small, and maybe it's a face mask for a baby, but you know, art. Okay, so any designs or textures. So here's the shape of my face mask. I'm going to add some designs on there, make sure it fits into my square. Yep, it fits perfectly. But I want to add some texture on here so I can tell a little bit better, like the folds of the face mask. So any extra texture that you want to add, texture helps when you do a print. Like you can see here, there's 3 different colors that this artist did. There's the background color like we painted, then they printed, and then they painted another color on top. So we're going to paint on top, or you can use colored pencils or whatever you decide to do your other color with. So you want some design on here so you have extra places to put more color, the 3rd color. Alright, so I have my face mask, I have some texture drawn in there, now I'm ready to do my printing. So you want to make sure that your original paper is dry. Mine's pretty dry, close enough. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to print this. What's my second color, my color scheme going to be? So I'm going to make sure that I use all these original colors, but I need my print color. So you can see this person, they use the same color, like you see the orange, the pink, the yellow, but their base color you can see is the dark purple, dark purple, dark purple, dark purple. So we need to figure out what is our dark purple. Mine is going to be white, because usually I think a face mask is like a light blue or a white, so it gives the illusion that it's an actual face mask. So But whatever you're doing your stamp of, think about what color scheme you would use. Okay, so with a clean brush, I'm going to take some white paint. I'm going to paint pretty lightly. And if you printed with me before, I taught you the correct way to print, which is put the stamp down on the table and the paper on top. This time, because we need to get our stamp in a very specific place and we don't want it to get messed up, we're going to do it opposite. So you're going to find the place that you want to put your stamp, and it should be the same in every box. You're going to have to repaint your stamp every time. But you want to get another piece of paper, find where you're going to place your stamp in the box. I'm going to start with my red so it shows. Place it down. Take the other piece of paper, put it on top. Take your hand, make small circles all over your stamp. Then you can lift your stamp. Okay, you're going to do this all 4 times first. So get your stamps down. Then we go back to our original stamp and we start adding our next color. So you guys start going through. I'm going to start going through, and every time I stamp, and try to line up your stamp the same in every section. You don't want it to change. Careful of the way that you lay your paper on top. We need to avoid our wet paint so we don't make a mess. 2 stamps. Need to paint it again. And think of how many different things you can do with the stamping technique. Think of, like, if you have to put your name on stuff for school or things like that. How cool would it be to make your very own stamp with your signature? Or if you're a true artist and you have your artist signature, you can make a stamp of it. Just remember, make it backwards, like a mirror. Has to be flipped and backwards. But then you can just keep using it over and over as your signature. Pretty cool. See, there's so many different things. That's the thing about art and creativity, is once you start doing it, you start creating, you're inspired to do other things. It gives you ideas. Okay, I'm on my last stamp. Okay. Alright, so I have my 4 stamps and my pop art. Now what I have to do is I have to add another color into each one. So I'm sticking with my same color scheme, but I'm going to start doing opposite. So if blue is over here, I'm going to put blue in this one. If orange is over here, I'm going to put orange in that one. So that way they're not next to each other. So, sorry, fumbling around over here trying to get organized. I'm going to get a smaller brush. And I'm going to start, okay, so my yellow section, I need a little bit of blue paint. And what I'm going to do is I'm basically just going to kind of add some of the blue throughout my mask, maybe in the gaps. So any place where the yellow shows through your print, or whatever color you're using. So whatever color your background is popping through, you want to paint that with another color. So the only thing your background is showing is around the edge of, like for me, it's around the edge of my mask is my yellow showing. Okay, so after you get your first one done, you can go on to your next one. So I'm going to do, since I just did this color scheme, I'll do the same thing. I'll go to my yellow, and I'll do the yellow in this one so you can see the difference once I'm done. So all that texture that you carved into your styrofoam print, now we're going back with another color, and you're painting that other color on the places where the texture is showing up. So basically your carve lines, the lines that you originally carved, you're now painting with a brush. Okay, red. And when you start adding the second color in, this is when you start seeing the Andy Warhol pop art popping through. This is the style of Andy. He created this style. He sold his art for millions of dollars. Well, his art sells for millions of dollars now. He's not alive anymore, but he made himself famous from doing exactly what you're doing right now. Maybe you'll be a famous artist one day. Tell him you knew me. Alright, so I'm going to show you right now as I start wrapping up at different sections of my face mask. It's pop art, it's fun, be creative, send me your pictures. I love to see them, and I'll put them in the gallery, and I'll see you guys soon. Just keep creating, guys. Bye.